In the summer of 1943, German Naval Command believed the Atlantic was still under control. U-boats were still sailing. Orders were still being issued. Radio reports continued to arrive on schedule. From Berlin, nothing appeared broken. And yet, beneath the surface, the U-boat war had already been lost. German commanders did not realize it at the time, but the most dangerous enemy they faced was no longer Allied aircraft or destroyers. It was their own radio network. Every order, every acknowledgement, every routine transmission was quietly revealing something Germany believed was still hidden. The Allies were not listening to the messages. They were listening to the signals. And one German order, meant to strengthen control over the fleet, ended up exposing nearly every U-boat at once. By mid-1943, the U-boat fleet was under increasing pressure. Allied escorts were stronger. Long-range aircraft were closing the air gap. Convoys were better protected than ever before. Losses were mounting, but German command believed the situation could still be stabilized. What they failed to recognize was that the nature of the war had already changed. For German submarines, communication was essential. Boats operated across thousands of miles of open ocean, often completely isolated. They depended on radio contact not only for attack orders, but for intelligence updates, weather forecasts, convoy sightings, and confirmation that they were still part of a coordinated force. Centralized command had been the foundation of German naval doctrine since the beginning of the war. Orders flowed downward. Reports flowed upward. Discipline, reporting, and confirmation were seen as strengths. For years, they had been. But by 1943, the same structure was quietly turning against the fleet. German radio operators were trained to transmit as briefly as possible. Messages were encoded, compressed, and sent in seconds. Commanders were repeatedly assured that such short transmissions were safe. Direction finding, they believed, required time, and time was something they never gave the enemy. That belief was already obsolete. Across the Atlantic, the Allies had built an extensive radio intelligence network designed not to read messages, but to locate them. High-frequency direction finding, known as HF/DF, operated continuously from shore stations and escort ships. Its purpose was simple and devastating. It listened for presence. The moment a U-boat transmitted, multiple stations detected the signal simultaneously. Each recorded the direction. Where those bearings crossed, a position appeared. Sometimes rough, sometimes precise, but always useful. And the system was fast. By the time a German operator finished sending a message and shut down the transmitter, Allied analysts often already knew where the signal had come from. German command was aware that direction finding existed. What they underestimated was how completely it had been integrated into Allied operations. HF/DF was no longer experimental. It was linked directly to convoy routing, air patrol planning, and escort deployment. Still, centralized control remained the priority. To coordinate operations, German naval headquarters issued standing orders requiring submarines to acknowledge messages, confirm readiness, and report positions at scheduled intervals. These acknowledgments were considered routine, necessary, harmless. From the German perspective, they ensured discipline and control. From the Allied perspective, they created patterns. In preparation for coordinated U-boat attacks, Entire groups of submarines were instructed to confirm receipt of orders within narrow time windows. Dozens of boats transmitted in sequence, often using predictable procedures and frequencies. To Allied listening stations, the sudden burst of radioactivity was unmistakable. It was not just a signal, it was a map. Bearings were taken almost instantly. Analysts began plotting positions across the Atlantic. Patterns emerged. Concentrations appeared in areas German command believed were invisible. For the first time, Allied planners could see the operational shape of a U-boat fleet, not through estimates or guesswork, but through the fleet's own transmissions. They did not need to know what the messages said. They already knew enough. Convoys were quietly rerouted before contact was ever made. Escort groups were reassigned. Long-range patrol aircraft were dispatched to regions German commanders believed empty. Submarines waiting for targets found only silence. Others surfaced to recharge batteries and were detected almost immediately. Aircraft appeared with no warning. Destroyers seemed to arrive from nowhere. Losses escalated rapidly. Inside German Naval Command, confusion grew. Reports described increasing Allied effectiveness, improved coordination, and sudden interceptions. But no single cause could be identified. The transmissions had been short. Procedures had been followed. The codes remained secure. The possibility that the radio traffic itself was the problem was unthinkable, because accepting that meant questioning centralized control. It meant admitting that issuing orders, something no military organization willingly abandons, had become a vulnerability. So the losses were explained away. Bad luck, weather, enemy adaptation. The orders continued. One of the most dangerous aspects of the failure was psychological. German command trusted procedure more than evidence. Losses were filtered through familiar explanations that required no structural change. Accepting the truth would have meant rewriting doctrine in the middle of a war, reducing control at the exact moment control felt most necessary. By late 1943, some U-boat commanders began avoiding transmissions whenever possible. Radio silence became more common. Messages were delayed or skipped entirely. But it was too late. The Allies no longer needed constant transmissions. Months of intercepted signals had revealed patrol rhythms, operational cycles, and command habits. Even silence had become predictable. The fleet could no longer disappear. After the war, captured German records revealed the scale of the mistake. Routine acknowledgments, readiness confirmations, standard procedures. All of them had contributed to exposing the fleet. The U-boats had not been betrayed by spies, not by broken codes alone. They had been betrayed by structure. The Battle of the Atlantic was not lost in a single dramatic confrontation. It was lost through habits that once made sense, through orders that seemed harmless, through a belief that control was always safer than silence. Germany ordered its submarines to speak, and the Allies were listening.